Hi, guys. Cecile Edwards here of the Mommy Matters podcast. I have to tell you, if you have not heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. And Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Did I tell you that you can also make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership? It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download your Anchor app or go to Anchor FM, anchor.fm to get started. You will not be dissatisfied. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, where Mommy Matters is a double entendre that states and declares that mommies matter, where we have conversations surrounding mommy matters, from conception to pregnancy to postpartum, mother and father wounds, dating, mindfulness and self-care, spirituality, parenting, discipline, legislation, money, and so much more. It is my hope and my prayer that the information that you gather here serves as a blueprint for generational and individual ascension. Enjoy. Welcome. This is your host, Cecile Edwards. Welcome to the Mommy Matters podcast, where we discuss all things that matters to moms, from perinatal pregnancy to having children who are grown, because we know that motherhood is full spectrum, and we have a lot to say about the different stages of motherhood, not just raising children, but also growing in ourselves and evolving in ourselves. So with that said, I have a special guest. I'm just going to jump right into it because I know we're going to have a nice and in-depth conversation. I want to make sure that we get to it all. So I have a lovely guest today named Laurel Handfield, and she's going to introduce herself and tell you who she is, what she does, and then we're going to get into some of the topics around mental health, raising children with healthy self-esteem, and marriage, healthy marriages, and raising healthy, confident children in that marriage. So let's get started. Laurel?
Well, first of all, hi, Cecile. Hi, everyone out there. Hope everyone's doing lovely tonight. And first, just let me say thank you for having me on your podcast. If I ramble on or sound nervous, just let me know, because this is like my fourth podcast, and I'm just kind of trying to get used to it. So just let me know. But anyway, as for who, okay, good. But as for who I am, again, I'm Laurel Handfield, and I live in Freeport, Bahamas. I am the founder of Happy Island Press, which creates picture books and coloring and activity books specifically for young girls of color, but basically it's for all girls, just basically to help build up their self-esteem at a very early age.
And that is, first of all, kudos to you for founding a press company, okay? Because
Thank you.
That kind of thing is extremely important for not only women to run those kinds of things, but also for women of color, Black women, to run those kinds of things, because we need to ensure that we push stories that come through our view, right? And so that, yes. Okay, I can envision myself publishing a book with you, by the way. So
feel free, send it on over.
It's a goal of mine. It has always been a goal of mine to publish a book. So anyway.
Okay. Let me know. Send it over.
Yes. So and then to have, and I know we had this conversation before, and I really want you to share your story about how you even came to publishing the types of books that you're publishing.
Okay. Okay, well, it started out, I've been a writer basically all of my life. I love to write. I started out writing fiction novels. I had a few of those published, but then eventually, the age, I went from adult fiction to young adult and now to children's picture books because that was my true passion. And it all started around 2020 when COVID hit. And that was the time I was like, you know what? This is the time. It's like, no one's going anywhere. So I might as well sit down and get this done because I have no more excuses. So what I ended up doing was I sat down, I created a few coloring books. I started off with the coloring books. I just wanted something simple. I wanted something to help affirm a young girl's inner beauty. Like when I was younger, and I'm about to date myself here, but when I was younger, as a young Black girl, growing up in the States in the 70s and in the 80s, there were no, I did the Barbie coloring books. I love coloring books, but it was just like the Barbie, but there was no representation for us. So that's where I wanted to start. And I wanted to start as young as possible. And I thought coloring books, that's perfect. So I created 2 coloring books, and I later moved on to picture books. I want to move on to like young adult, but also teen and preteen as well, but just like girls' guides. Because again, when I was younger, I did not see the role models to affirm my beauty, like my hair, my skin color, my thicker lips, wider nose. There was no role, there were a few, I'll say there were a few, but just in general, there were just no role models to, I could like grab onto and say, hey, that's me, to help me feel better about myself. So this is what I wanted for my children, my daughter. I have a daughter that's 19 years old, and this is what I wanted for her. I just didn't want her to, go through life grasping, thinking that she wasn't beautiful. Now, mind you, this is beauty on the inside as well as outside. I mean, it includes being confident. It includes being strong and resilient. But I just did not see that on a daily basis like you would, other races. So this is why I was like, let me start something like this and grab the girls as early as possible. Because again, like I said, my daughter is 19 years old now. And I had no idea she struggled with the same issues that I struggled with like 30 years earlier. I raised her here in the Bahamas, and I'm thinking she's around other young girls of African descent. So there should be no issue, right? That's what you think. But right, because of social media, they have access to everybody and everything. And while it's gotten a little bit better, social media still shows them that, they're not necessarily strong, that they're not necessarily beautiful. But the good news is that we are changing the narrative. Now, if you've noticed that there's a lot more of us on social media now, we're trendsetters. We have always been trendsetters, but now the proof is in the pudding. Now you see it all over social media. You see young Black girls accepting who we are, accepting our beauty, I love to watch young girls embrace their natural hair. I love to see that, because when I was younger, it was, I was rushing to get a perm and make my hair straight as, my little, Caucasian friend over here. But today that's not the case. And I think because of us changing the narrative, we can embrace our beauty much more. And I just wanted to be a part of that, which is why I created the coloring books and the picture books.
Excellent. You just said so many lovely things there. So let me start. Yes, you did. Let me start with, you talked about growing up and not having inner beauty and outer beauty affirmed. And
right.
And what struck me with that was that we often hear as Black women, oh, you're strong, or, you take care of people. But that honestly oftentimes gets weaponized in some way to mean
Yes.
that you can do things on your own, or you should be
Yes.
the burden for everyone, or you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? And so it's like, okay, I love that, we're taking that and we're using it so that we can love on ourselves and we can love on each other,
Mm-hmm.
and get the honor and respect and reciprocity that we deserve in these exchanges. And so that for
Mm-hmm.
me, that's what stands out for me, let alone the physical beauty, right? Because as you said,
Right.
you can grow up in a situation where there's people who basically look like you, but
Mm-hmm.
there's still this preference of beauty
Mm-hmm.
that looks like something else, this
Right.
standard of beauty that looks like something else. And I really never understood that. I'm like, what is that really about?
Right.
Right.
And where did that
And
come from?
where did
Who
that
decided
come
that?
from? Who decided
Right.
that? How do you fall into that mentally when what you see around you is
Mm-hmm.
not that? Like what makes
Right.
and I think it has a lot to do with the power of media, honestly, and what it makes us believe
Absolutely.
is better. It makes us
Mm-hmm.
feel like if we have proximity to it, it's not even that we have some internal qualities, but if we have
Right.
proximity to an external quality, then we're better, right?
Right.
Which in and of
Right.
itself
Exactly.
is warped thinking. So
Mm-hmm.
we take the attention away from trying to develop our inner selves and turn
Mm-hmm.
it into trying to look like or be next to something that has that. And we do that in a lot of ways.
Yes.
Financially, we go out and buy these expensive things so that we look like we
Mm-hmm.
are close to wealth, but
Right.
we may not have that at all. Right. And
Right.
so I love that focus on the inner beauty. I wanted you to talk a
Mm-hmm.
little bit about like what that looks like in the book. Like, is it affirmations? What does
Mm-hmm.
that look like?
Well, with my coloring and my coloring books, my activity books, I wanted to concentrate on, yes, the affirmations. So the coloring books do have the affirmations. I am beautiful. I am strong. I'm confident. It has affirmations, but also I wanted to just show us in general. I wanted to show our hair textures. I wanted to show our skin colors, and not just that, but you can color, it's a coloring book. So you could basically color in any shade you want. Any shade, it could be light, dark, whatever you want to color the young girl in the book. Now, for my picture books, it concentrates more on not really affirmations, but it's just about being you. Just about being you, and that, yes, you can imagine being the president as a young Black girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to show that, this little young Black girl, it's called President for a Day, my picture book. That's my first picture book. And it's just a little Black girl imagining herself. And it's not anything that's totally unrealistic. I want her to imagine herself and to say, yeah, I can do this. Because, back in the day now, it was kind of like, I don't know, I see you you go ahead and dream, you little Black girl, but I don't know if that's ever going to happen in your lifetime. But what I wanted to say is that, yeah, you can dream it. Honey, please, please dream it, because it's going to happen. It will happen. I firmly believe that.
I firmly
I
believe
firmly believe
I
that.
firmly believe in envisioning. I think that in
Yes.
our current lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
we don't even have the room to envision and dream oftentimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a
Mm-hmm.
huge blockage to our ability to actually receive and achieve some of the
Mm-hmm.
things that we desire. Or if we are
Mm-hmm.
envisioning, we're envisioning where we already are, or we're envisioning something negative happening.
Right. As
We're
opposed to
envisioning
going beyond that
what we don't want.
positively.
We're not spending that time as children typically do, right? Children
Imagining.
typically spend time in that fantasy world where like anything
Mm-hmm.
is possible. And so
Uh-huh.
I feel like we kill that very early on
Uh-huh.
with children with to indoctrinate them with this is how it is. And this is how it's
Yes.
going to be. And so I love that, that you have that a picture book that shows pictures, but doesn't give words, because now you can give words to that vision and you can look at that vision in the way that you want to give, to look at it. So.
Yes. And it's funny that you say that. It's perfect because I imagine, which is my second coloring activity book, I imagine it's basically, you can imagine anything. I have a young girl in there who imagines being an astronaut, a chef. Just she can imagine being a farmer, anything that she wants to be. And that's what I wanted to concentrate on in my second picture book. My first coloring book is My Pretty. It's entitled My Pretty. And that's just showing the inner and outer beauties. And it has the affirmations that, yes, you are beautiful. Yes, you are strong. The second one, I imagine, is just imagining, taking it a step further and just imagining doing and being anything that you want to. You don't have to be limited. You can just, if you imagine it, you can do it.
Yeah. It's like, why not? What does it hurt you to think? It's easy for you to have these things that you want. And I have to say, as an adult, part of my process of healing and getting back to my, soul's desires, my imagination, being able to free myself in a way where I could use my imagination the way I want to, has been a huge part. So it's not just for children.
Yes.
In fact,
it absolutely isn't.
In fact, in my ebook, I have an ebook, and that is one of my spiritual and psychological self-care strategies. One of them is to be able to use your imagination and, imagine things, just sit and dream and daydream and be okay with, doing that on a regular and daily basis, because it really is a critical thing. But oftentimes we get stalled in doing that because we, are busy. We're always doing this, that, like running around like a hamster and a rabbit. And it's like, well, when do you have time to even, step outside of just doing so that you can be and you can envision? And I think this is a good way to segue into talking about mental health and self-care for both adults and children, right? Because we're saying, for me, self-care, part of that is being able to rest physically, mentally, emotionally. And that requires a lot of things. So what are some things that, you feel like are critical to be able to give yourself that space? Yes, you can use your books, but what are some other things that you have done, for example, to heal from, I feel like it's psychological warfare when you feel like you grow up feeling like the body that you inhabit is ugly. That's psychological warfare.
Yes. And let me just tell you how I started, Cecile. Another point I wanted to make was that, statistics, I've been reading up on this, and it's like statistics show, especially in young Black girls, it was about 70%, and this was about 2 years ago, 70% of those young Black girls that are shown to have low self-esteem go on to do other harmful things to themselves later on in life. Now, that includes cutting, that includes promiscuity. For me, it was an eating disorder. Before I even knew, I was about 12 years old. I didn't even know what it was, but I just remembered, I have to be skinny. I have to this, I have to stop eating. I was on the scale, and it just kind of, I was part of that statistic. So therefore, I just wanted to catch these young girls as early as possible, because as moms and aunts and, anybody who takes care of a young girl, you think that they're not watching and they're not paying attention, but let me tell you, they absorb every little thing.
Yeah.
They see, you stepping on the scale, this, you might not say it, but every day stepping on the scale, dissatisfied with your body. Oh, I'm fat and da. Now, I don't want to be too hard on, us women, us Black women, because, we have been conditioned. We have been conditioned to believe that we should be this type. Even women in general, but specifically Black women. So in answer to your question about like self-care, that's vital. Because here I am, I'm gonna say over 50 and leave it at that. But here I am.
Embrace it. You look fabulous. Okay.
Thank you. Yes. And and it's like I still work on it. I still work on it at, my age. So it's like if I'm still working on it, I know there's younger people still working on it. I want to help them along, but I can't help them unless I do the work and help myself. So self-care for me, I don't even know where to begin, but right now I am in almost beast mode with self-care because it's so important to just, first of all, love yourself. But you can always say that, but how do you do that? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like enjoy being with yourself, enjoy your own company, because it's like you have to actually love yourself. You have to like yourself, and you have to exude that to the world. And what helps me are affirmations. But more than just words, you have to feel it. And I've just started meditating. And it's just meditating on like the word and just kind of just realizing that I just don't have to be this particular person. I don't have to look this way. I don't have to act this way. I can just be who I am. And this is what I want to tell my 19-year-old daughter, and I have two younger sons as well. And I want them to realize that as well. But it's just, you have to, you have to love you. You just have to. You have to love yourself, and then just let everybody else follow your example. So in essence, kind of lead by example. But for me right now, meditation is the biggest thing for me right now, where I just kind of relax, stay out of my own head. And, that self-negative talk that a lot of times that we have. It's just, little things that will kind of pick at you and you don't even realize it's happening. You have to become aware. And I've been doing that a lot more lately, where I'm becoming aware of like that just stuff like, oh, you can't do that. Or girl, no, you're not going to try to wear that tonight. It's just get out of your own head. And again, meditation helps me do that. Just relax and just be me for a second. Just relax and chill. And, that's what helps me right now.
I love meditation. As some of you, the audience may know, I'm a mindfulness educator.
Yes. Oh, okay.
And that is critical. That has been the game changer for me.
Yes.
Just seeing how I make decisions, seeing the place that I make decisions from, in being able to dismantle the various isms and schisms that have made up my way of thinking, that outside chatter from everywhere else, and being able to, whatever your religious or spiritual background is, being able to meditate on what that tradition says about you, which most traditions say that you are a child of the divine and that you're good, right?
Yes.
It does not talk anything in there about, you have to look a certain way, or it talks about your character. It talks about how you are. It talks about the energy that you carry. And so, when you get into mindfulness, and this is what I try to say, because people often think that meditation is just you sitting and being quiet. But the truth of the matter is, things come up when you're trying to be quiet, things are going to come up in your mind. And it's how you manage those things that come up in your mind, not manage it in a way that is harsh or demeaning to yourself. Like, why do I keep thinking that? More like, why do I keep thinking that? What is
notice
the origin
that,
of
right?
that thought? How did that thought come to be? Is that something that I really believe? Is that true? Questioning the thoughts that come up is really the essence of mindfulness, right? But you have to get still in order for those things to come up in a way that's going to be conscious for you to start. At some point, you master it and you get better at it, but absolutely you have to start to question things.
Yes.
You have to start to question things that you say to yourself, that others say to you, because
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes, I talk about generational healing, and oftentimes we just do whatever it is that was done. Everything about us is
Mm-hmm.
habit, right? And
Yes.
so if you
Yes.
heard certain things, if you grew up hearing, when you're dark skinned, you're not nice looking.
Right.
Oh, you're pretty because you're, even though you're dark skinned, or you're,
Right.
your
Right.
your face is pretty, even though your
Uh-huh.
body is not the size that I think it should be. Then those
Uh-huh.
kinds of things inform the way that you think, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell when it's not right to you, because you can feel it in your body. You can feel when you're
Yes.
saying something. This is where you sometimes you get anxiety and start to get, because your body is a living organism. You're talking to your body in a certain way, your body is going to react. You talk love. This is
Mm-hmm.
like scientifically proven. If you talk
Mm-hmm.
to yourself a
Yes.
certain way, right? I'm
Yes.
also a Reiki practitioner, so there are so many
Oh.
studies about how if you talk to yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
talk to the water,
Yes.
positively, loving, kind, talk to the plants positively, loving and kind, they're going to grow. The water is going to have molecules in it that look a certain way, but when you talk to it negatively, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
imagine
into
your body.
oh, I'm sorry. I
Mm-hmm.
was going to say, it's the same thing with food. It's the
Mm-hmm.
same thing. If you talk to your food, that's where the blessing came from. It's
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like you're blessing your food as you intake it. You love it. It's not, because most of us, and I've been guilty. It's like as you're eating, you're like, oh my God, okay, well, I can diet tomorrow, or I can, you're already ahead of yourself thinking, you know what, I'm gonna eat this now, and you're all stressed out about
Then you're
eating
going
and
to
this and
exercise
that.
it off tomorrow. No.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
don't live to earn
And
food. You eat the food that you enjoy and keep it moving.
enjoy
You know what
it.
I'm saying?
Exactly. And love it. I mean, it's like you said, like with the water you drink. Once you drink that with a positive mindset,
Mm-hmm.
it's like it nourishes you.
Nourishes you.
I don't care. Yeah, I don't care how much water you drink, um, what is that? Spring water or alkaline water or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
What they tell you. This is good for you. You know,
Exactly.
yes, but you have to. You alkaline and spring water can do the same thing as any other water, but you
Mm-hmm.
just have to be positive when you're drinking it. It's like a whole thing. You have to think the positive thoughts and not be stressed out like, oh my gosh, I know I'm drinking this water. It's not good for me. I should be drinking this with the pH of this and that. You just stress yourself out with
Mm-hmm.
everything.
And it becomes even more insidious when
Uh-huh.
especially us as people of color, a lot of our foods are deemed as unhealthy until of
Mm-hmm.
course it's discovered to be a superfood.
Uh-huh.
Right?
Then, yeah,
So we feel
yeah.
like we can't eat our foods such as,
Uh-huh.
plantains or rice and beans, because they're
Uh-huh.
too carby, right? They're too, but
Right.
it's like, no, this is the food that makes me happy. And,
Yes.
yes, I do feel like, in general, humans, I don't even care where
Mm-hmm.
you're from, we tend to just eat too much food, but that's a whole bunch of,
Uh-huh.
that's another conversation. But if what we eat is cool, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's nothing wrong
Right.
with our food. So when you look at a lot of times that aspect to it,
Uh-huh.
we are always told, I feel like we're always told, because oftentimes when we go on a quote unquote diet, the
Mm-hmm.
first thing we're going to shun, we're going to say, oh, I can't eat XYZ because it's going to make me
Mm-hmm.
fat, or it's going to make me
Right.
sick. And it's like,
And
really?
that's the first thing you want, right?
It's
I
like,
can't eat
no.
ice cream or French fries. And the minute you put it on the no list, it's like, you know what? I want French fries. I want ice cream.
Exactly. And that's a part of the journey, honestly, is really
Yeah.
giving yourself
Yeah.
permission to eat the things that you want to eat. It's a process, because I'm going through the same thing, same process,
Yes.
you know.
Hello. Hello.
Becoming, comfortable with what I eat, but also when we're
Yes.
raising our children, we have to be mindful of how we talk to them about food,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yes.
restricting them and making them feel
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, you're eating that and you're going to gain weight and all of that. Like
Mm-hmm.
all of that stuff lends to their mental health around, because that's what was done to us, right? And that's why we feel the
Yes.
way we feel about eating and food and all of that oftentimes, because we're trying
Right.
to fit in. So
Yes, because I remember, my parents kind of, do you really want to eat that? well, did you have enough? As a young girl at 13, all I hear in my head is, oh, okay, my parents are telling me I'm fat. So, all of a sudden, then the diets start. That, 13 years old, I'm starting to diet. Now, here I am with my own daughter who's 19 years old. And I'm not kidding. I catch myself sometimes
Yep.
where I'm just kind of like, oh, you're going to eat that?
Of the process. It is
It really
part of the
is.
process of.
But see, we're mindful of it now. We're mindful so that we can do better. I'm not blaming my mom or my dad or anything, because that's what they've been conditioned,
right.
But now we know better. Right. So it's just kind of like, we need to do better. Yes. And I hope my daughter does the same.
Unconditioned.
Oh, I know what you mean.
So we have to unravel that. All of the stories about different things, like, oh, why are you crying? Or, oh, what's wrong with you? There's nothing wrong with you. Or, what I'm saying? All of those things lend to how our youth practice their care of themselves, holding those feelings in. That's a huge thing, right? I've heard a lot of men say, a lot of men particularly say, they didn't learn how to communicate when they were feeling certain things while growing up. Right?
Yes.
And of course, we as women, we're made to feel like there's something wrong with us emoting all the time.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
Right.
It's how you communicate.
It's how you communicate. It's how you get things out, because we know that if you don't get out certain feelings, you don't transform. How are people supposed to connect with you if you're just a robot too? Right? You have to be vulnerable. You have to speak your truths. And how
right. But now with that, I would also say, be careful though, because then sometimes a lot of people are just complaining just to complain.
That's true.
And I do believe, like, kind of like a law of attraction, you complain about this, you're going to bring forth more to complain about. So it's kind of like the meditation and the mindfulness kind of help with that, because, before you actually start talking and complaining about this is like, is this really necessary? You know what I mean? It's just kind of like, and then I don't feel the need actually to complain about this and complain about that, because it's just it's a non-factor now.
And it will give you the ability to talk about it more constructively, right?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
Obviously if it's on your mind, then you're going to say, but when you're mindful, you speak about things more constructively, right? Yes. So you're not just saying it so that you can have something for somebody to trauma bond with you, but you're saying it so that you can sort of process it, to talk it out in a way that shows your personal values or whatever the case may be. So I think that would be the difference in, that. And that's an important thing to teach our children, right? So when they come with complaints, or they, when you know that, then now you can ask them questions and try to get them to, think it through.
Open up. Yeah.
Instead of it just being something that is like, oh, they did that, and I, this and that and this and that. Learn how to problem solve, learn how to troubleshoot, and really notice their feelings and notice how they feel in their body when things come up and things like that. So yeah, you're absolutely right about that in terms of, not just, being a trauma bonder, as I call it, but really being sort of productive with your feelings and how you feel and how you're processing them. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because in my 20s, I had a friend in my 20s, and I remember we used to just bounce off one another. It was just, oh, well, this happened to me today, and then this happened. It's almost like we were trying to one up each other on who had it worse. It was that got kind of dangerous after a while. It was just kind of like, but you don't really see it when you're in the thick of it. But now, years later, and being more mindful of it, there's a more, like you said, there's a more constructive way to communicate like your feelings, instead of just chronic complaining.
Right. You start to ask questions instead of just reacting.
Right.
Yeah. So I think that those things are ways that you can, because being a problem solver is self-esteem boosting in and of itself, right? So,
big time,
when something comes up and you have the capability to ask questions and to connect to other things that may have happened and really get down to the reason why you feel some type of way about it,
Mm-hmm.
then you're solving problem, right?
Right.
You're creating
Uh-huh.
solutions instead of
Uh-huh.
just right,
Yeah.
jumping.
Uh-huh. Oh, and I just wanted to add, and then, if it does get overwhelming or you feel overwhelmed, never, ever, ever be afraid to ask for help. I
Exactly.
mean, just never. I mean, if you have a friend, I mean, if you have to get professional help, seek outside help, never, ever, ever be afraid to ask for help. I know a lot of times in our community, it's like, oh no, it's getting a little better now, but a few years back, we never saw like psychologists or things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
now it's just it's almost like it's a lot. It's a lot for us to bear. So,
Mm-hmm.
as adults, if it's a lot for us on our shoulders, you can imagine kids as well. It's the same
Absolutely.
thing for them. So
Absolutely. I
never
have to say
ever.
that. Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. For my daughter has been seeing a therapist since I want to say maybe sometime last year. And
Okay.
it has absolutely been a game changer. It has been something that,
Oh,
because
that's good.
as a mom, I can't, especially when I'm going through my own process of evolving, having
Right.
that support, to have someone support her, and then we can sort of work together
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a single parent at that, right?
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I
Even
have a
more
lot on my
difficult.
plate as it is.
Yeah.
Having to then deal with the emotional and psychological well-being of a developing brain child is a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Yeah.
definitely I highly recommend getting a child counselor, talking to, getting their teachers, or,
Mm-hmm.
teachers that they trust and love, getting, the parents of their friends, all to have those kinds of conversation. Like, you don't keep your conversation shallow. Make them
Right.
something in depth that's really going to build community, where you all are being vulnerable, where you're truly solving a problem and not being reactive, but being proactive and really assisting our young
Right.
people in developing these life skills that they need to be able to really grow, into
Right.
responsible adults. Hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. So, with that, you have an offering for our audience. And I'd
Oh,
like you to
yes,
talk
yes.
about that, my empowerment guide.
Yes,
Um, mhm,
I have a girls self-empowerment guide available on my website. That's for, like, again, anybody that's raising a young girl. It's just a way to get started. What you can do today, right now, just to get started. It's about I think it's about a 7 or 8 page guide.
mhm.
It has like little coloring pages. It has everything you need in one page. I'm sorry, one guide. It has just everything you need just to get started, just right here, right now, today. It has affirmations you can use. It has how to communicate to your daughter. It has like the best way to teach your daughter about self-confidence. Then
Mhm.
all you have to do is go to www.happyislandpress.com, and it'll take you right to the freebie. You sign up and download it.
Perfect. And that link will be in the um, podcast notes, so you'll all be able to see that and go ahead and grab that to utilize with your. And what age groups can you use that with?
This one is specifically for 3 to about like maybe 8 or 9 years old, because
Mhm.
it has like the coloring pages, but it could be used for actually any age, because again, it is about just communicating with your daughter.
Mhm.
So therefore, it can be used from the age range is about 3 to 8, but a little, preteen, I'd say,
Mhm.
preteen to teen as well.
Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you don't even look at the age, you look at the need of the child,
Right,
right?
right,
So,
yeah,
and that can be at any age, quite frankly.
right,
You know,
right.
so absolutely. So, I think that I love the work that you're doing. I think that it is absolutely
Thank you.
necessary and absolutely amazing. And I hope that it spreads far and wide, and becomes the norm. The way that we look at and view books and things like that is the norm. It's infused in how we create things.
Right.
I think that that's the true cultural competency, right? It's not like
Right.
a temporary fix. No, this is the way it is because look, this is what we see around us, right?
Right.
This is the reality
Right.
of what we're seeing on a daily basis. The what we see on TV and the media or whatever is not
Yes. Yes. Every day.
um, and so we need those kinds of just reality creating tools in order to help our children to be able to know about their well-being, know that their
Mhm.
well-being is central and it is okay to focus on that, and giving parents the tools to help talk to their children about those things, as
Right.
well as unraveling their own conversations that they have around these things, because sometimes
Right.
more parents are actively doing the work, but there's some who still need some tools, and
Right.
that's okay. So if you could leave the audience with any last words, what
Mhm.
would they be?
Let's see. I'm trying to think what worked for me and my daughter. Um, I'd say definitely communication.
Mm-hmm. The key.
I think, yes, yes. I know it kind of sounds cliche, right? But it
Mhm.
is so true. I just keep my lines of communication open up with my daughter. Some things she'll tell me, some things she will not. But I want to let her know that I'm here, whatever she wants to tell me. Because, like I said, sometimes you're like, oh, my daughter's fine. And, you go on with your own life, but you don't realize
Mhm.
that she's going through something.
Mhm.
And again, even as young as 4 and 5 and 6,
Mhm.
they may be going through something.
Mhm.
So that's why I say it's kind of important to just let them know that you are listening, that you are there. If they ever want to talk, sometimes you can initiate the conversation. No pressure or anything, but just kind of talk to them. Like my daughter and I, we go for walks, every other morning now. And this is where I catch her. She just wants to tell me everything. She tells
Mhm.
me everything at that point, and it's not forced. I'm not
Mhm.
asking her. She just tells me all about her life, what she's doing right now. And it's just because we have good communication, but that didn't happen overnight. You just kind of have to work at it and just
Mhm.
just keep it open.
Yeah. And
So
you
I
have to
would say
create the
that definitely.
space. That's one of the
Yes.
tragedies of our modern world, is that we are so busy
Mm-hmm.
that we don't take the time to create the space where, you know what I'm saying,
Mm-hmm.
that conversation can be open naturally.
Right.
Everything is about enforcing a rule.
Yes.
Things are not about just having the relationship and being a part of the family. And I know I can do better at it myself. I
Uh-huh.
used to have mother-daughter dates. I'm reinforcing and reinstating those because I'm like, okay, we need to get back,
Uh-huh.
get
Because
back to that
you do get busy. I'm sure you were definitely busy with the podcast and
with
just
everything.
trying to
But,
in general.
that should never take precedence over a human relationship, right?
Right,
So it's
right,
definitely not those of your family members and your children.
right,
It really should
right.
not, because everything else can wait.
Yes.
And so, and the other question is, how do you infuse and incorporate them into that process? You know what I'm saying? As much as you possibly
Uh-huh.
can. How do you teach them about that? Because oftentimes another thing that I always say is that as parents, we don't tell our children enough about our childhood and growing up. I feel like
Uh-huh.
that's humbling for us
Uh-huh.
and for them
Uh-huh.
when we
Yeah,
remember those stories. Yeah. Hmm.
that's a good point because with my daughter, she loves to hear my stories.
They
Sometimes
absolutely
I'm
love
thinking
it.
she wants to hear about mom in her day when she was partying, mom with
Hmm.
her first boyfriend, and
Hmm.
I am. I think, I hope, I am like, to me, I'm an open mom.
Hmm.
I will tell her, I'll say 98% of everything.
Hmm.
Of course, there's some stuff is like, no, 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 no. I think I'm gonna
Right.
keep
You
that
kind of got to
to a
wait for that
shelf.
one. Like,
Right, right. But I'll tell her most of everything, and she loves to hear my stories. My
They do.
boys, same thing.
They
They like to
do.
hear about, what you did as a kid.
Hmm.
What my daughter's 19 now, and I was telling her when I was 19, like she's in college, she's doing the home program. And I was in college. I went to Cheney University,
Hmm.
and it was just kind of like a different ball game. She likes to hear about my stories because I was on campus, and she just loves to hear about my life, and that makes it enjoyable. It's like I'm not forcing anything on her.
Exactly.
She asked me about it. I tell her about my mistakes, but I only tell her that of some of them. I won't say, but I tell her about that because, A, I don't want her to make the same mistakes.
Correct.
And B, it's just, for her, she enjoys, like I said, she enjoys just hearing that, oh, so you're not perfect either.
Exactly.
So she doesn't feel bad when she makes a mistake.
Exactly. It's a way for them to learn also the process of growing and problem solving and evolving. Like,
yes.
Matter of fact, I need to do a class on this. I'm going to do a class on this. But it's definitely, this art of storytelling and telling your children stories about your life.
Yes.
Because it was so funny because last week was my daughter's birthday, March 14th. And I took her and her friend out to
That's my son's birthday.
Oh, really?
March 14th.
Isn't that something? So I took her and her friend out to dinner, and they started asking me questions about my first boyfriend, and did I date in high school and all this other stuff. And I was honest with them. I was like, I didn't date in high school. It wasn't interesting to me. I told them my true views. Like, I didn't find boys very interesting. I honestly did not. They were not intriguing to me. I found myself to be more intriguing than anything. So anyway, but yeah, I was honest, but I was also hearing of their experiences right now, right? Because they're very into boys and all of that.
Yes.
But yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So yeah. So
how old is she?
She's 14. She just turned 14.
Oh, okay. It's coming.
So, and it's fine. It's a part of growing up. You know what I'm saying? I feel like we sort of weaponize the growing up process. Like we didn't go through it. It's like, it's a part of growing up. The question is, how do we walk them through it? That's the question.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the question. Not if they're going to go through it and how, and we already know they're going to go through certain things. How are we going to walk them through it? That's what we need to use our energy to think about.
That's right.
So yeah, so I appreciate that final thought. And how can people connect with you on social media and such? Email if they want to find out more, or grab a book or grab some books for their programs or anything.
Okay, well, the books you can find on Amazon, the coloring books, the 2 coloring books, and the picture book you can find on Amazon under Happy Island Press. And then the picture book you can find on Amazon, yes, but also on Barnes and Noble. They just picked it up.
Oh, excellent.
So it's on Barnes and Noble as well. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I want to get it into bookstores now. I have to look into that.
Excellent.
But I'm on Instagram under Happy Island Press. I am on Facebook, Happy Island Press, and I'm even on TikTok. I actually started TikTok.
I'm gonna have to friend you. I just started my TikTok, so
okay. I know I'm getting used to it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you got to get used to TikTok. That's something that's a different animal altogether. So
it sure is. But we'll catch.
But yeah, look for me. Definitely, we'll connect.
Definitely, I'm on there as a mother's nursery. That's my other business. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Laurel. And thank you all for listening. I hope that you gain some interesting insights and that you're able to find this resource that Laurel has created on Happy Island Press to help build up your children's self-esteem, to help guide you in building up their self-esteem and perhaps your own, right. So because this is a process of learning and growing and evolving. So thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next episode. Peace. All right.
Oh, that was so much fun.
It was. Oh.
Did you like that? I know it was as informative for you as it was for me. Look, this is a process for all of us. And to keep this process going, I would love to invite you to donate to our podcast. We want to continue to give you high-level content, beautiful content that enlightens and inspires and broadens your vision to elevate you and evolve. So please feel free to go to the podcast page at anchor.fm/Mommy Matters. We would love to hear your questions and comments as well, so that we can discuss them in future podcasts. And you can email that to momevolve@gmail.com. You can also visit the website and send your comments there. www.mommyevolve.com. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace and love.